called as the implementation guide, and latest version is 3.3, and there are few changes. Few of the new domains are added in a 3.3. That's the only change. Other than that, everything is all same. This implementation guide is given by a CDISC team. CDISC is the team who have given this SDTM implementation guide as well as the ADAM implementation guide document. CDISC Submission Data Standard Team. This is the team who create this implementation guide. Whatever we do in SDTM, it's as per this document. We don't apply any extra brain from our end. Only thing is we follow this document. Nothing apart from this. Nothing will assume. We just have to follow this document. So when you work on SDTM, this is your, I call it as when I learn. So what I was told is that this is kind of a Quran, Gita, Bible, everything for the SDTM programmer. SDTM, what does SDTM stands for? Study Data Tabulation Model. I'll talk about first domain. Before that, there is something called as SDTM standard domain model. So you have different classes in a SDTM. When I say classes, so let's say first I'm looking at special purpose domain. This is one of the class. Then after I have an intervention, I have an event, I have a finding. These are my classes. Finding about, trial design domain. This is one of the class. I was talking about that document, right? TDM. We need to create some data set as well. That is one of the class. Relationship data set. These are the classes we have. Classification of the data set we have in a STTM. Under that, you can see the list of your domain or list of a data set. Special purpose, you have, let's say you are seeing a demographic. What is demographic? You have a subject level information. Let's say what is the subject ID they have, when they took a treatment for a first time, what is the country they belong to, what is their race, ethnicity, sex, everything. These are the subject level information. Those all data will be kept in a one domain called as demographic. When they have come into a trial, when they have visited a trial, that is all again in a one domain. Like that, you have all the different sets of a domain. We are starting with our special purpose domain, and we'll start with a DM first. What is all intervention event? We'll see all these things. Definition of a domain is, as you know, group of observation which shares a common interest. When I talk about demographic, it is all about the subject level information. So we are sharing common topic is here is subject. That's the definition of a domain. We are getting a same or similar kind of a data in one of the domain. Let's say I have in a trial, some subjects are suffering, getting some side effects. For that, we have a different data set called as adverse event. We'll not keep everything all combined. As per the standard, we have a different data set for different topic. I'll just give you introduction of a DM. Yes, so as I said you, DM is the first domain which has to be created. Describes the each subject in a clinical study. This is a data set which have the subject label information, as I said you. And this is a parent domain for all other data sets. I talked about this when we work on another data set, we need to have a demographic data set already created. That's why we consider this as the parent data set. I'll come up to all these things, but before that, I'll talk about, go through the example here. You have a list of a variable. All these variables are listed here. These are all the standard. This is first a standard data set. You have a standard variable as per this implementation guide. And you have a label for it. Label is basically short description, right? We know how to assign label in a SAS. For all each variables, you have the label as well. And you have a type, you have a control term, role, all this thing we'll see. We have a note as well, some description about this variable. So I'll talk about that later, but let's talk about this example first. This example itself, those all variable would be clear to you. What is the meaning of it? And we'll talk about then after, what is the role, what is the control term, and what is the core later on. See example here, this is a study ID. For each clinical trial, you have a study number, study identifier. You have the first variable study ID. It would remain same throughout the study. In all the domains, in all the data set, it would remain same because for one study, you have a one unique number. Domain. This is all about the demographic domain, right? So the short name is DM. If I'm working on adverse event data, domain would be AE. Unique subject identifier and subject identifier. For each subject, you have a subject number assigned, subject identifier. See, all the variable has some meaning. It's not like you have to by heart remember this variable randomly. You have to just see the meaning. Stands for SUBJ stands for subject. ID stands for identifier. U stands for unique subject identifier. All the variable has some meaning. So if you remember with the meaning, it is easier for you to remember, and also to, like, whenever somebody asks you, you can easily recall it. Subject ID, you have the subject number assigned and you have a unique subject identifier. What is the meaning of this? Why we need two numbers for same subject? What happen is there might be a one subject who may participate in a several trial. For one compound, there may be a sometime multiple studies going on, and that subject is participated, let's say, in a two trial. This unique subject identifier will make it unique within the study. This subject identifier, is unique throughout the compound. I have participated in two trials. My number would be 001 in this study as well as in another study as well. And I have the unique number assigned in this study. So this is the unique number which I have for this particular study. Again, in a different study, I will be having a different user ID. It is basically a combination of or concatenation of a study ID, your site ID, and subject ID. Once you concatenate these three variables, site ID is basically where a trial is happening. Once you concatenate, you have a unique subject identifier within a study. RF STDTC. This is the date when subject took a treatment for a first time. Reference start, date and time. C stands for whenever you have a date, this is a character variable. And also it's a date. So that's why you have a C here at the end. RF STDTC, if you read a label for this, subject reference start date and time. It basically stands for when a subject took a treatment for a first time. When a subject took a treatment for a last time. RF ENDTC. Subject reference end date and time. And next variable was RFX STDTC, date and time of first study treatment. And RFX ENDTC, it stands for date and time of a last study treatment. So what's the difference actually? Both, when I define both the variable RF STDTC and RFX STDTC, both are the date when subject took a treatment for a first time. When it is different, whenever you see this X is there in between RF STDTC, that means when a subject took a treatment, or when a subject took a treatment for a first time for a protocol specified drug. So let's say example of an oncology study. In an oncology study, before subject take a actual study drug, they will go for a chemotherapy. That chemotherapy treatment date would be your RF STTTC. That is the date. I mean, we need to see when they took the chemotherapy for the first time. That is your RF STTTC. And when subject took the actual oncology drug, or that is also the protocol specified drug, that date is your RFX STTTC. That's the difference. For all other studies, let's say the studies for neurological, for cardiovascular, anything, value for both RF STDTC and RFX STDTC would remain same. You can see in this example itself, the value is same because this is not the example from the oncology trial. How to define this, all this we'll see programmatically tomorrow.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, that RF XSTTC you said, right, sir? So that is a study treatment of that is study treatment, right? Which is
Correct.
nothing but EX domain.
Protocol is specified, yeah.
EX domain, right, sir?
Leave the EX and all. Just understand protocol is specified treatment. Actual study
Okay.
drug. And if any supporting drug, In example of oncology, I have told you, right? On chemotherapy
Ah,
subject you go for, that date would be your RF STDTC. Other than that, for all other
mhm.
study, value would be same.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
RF ENDTC, as I said you, same thing. In a oncology study again, when subject took a treatment for a last time, the actual study treatment for a last time, that is your RF XENDTC. And you have a RF ENDTC when subject took a treatment for a last time. So whenever you have X in between, that is all about the protocol specified actual study treatment. First time, last time. ENDTC means last time, end date. RFICD, this is a spelling mistake here. This is the RFICDTC. Reference start, IC for informed consent, DT for date. And C is for, it's a date in a type character. When a subject signed informed consent, only one time they will sign. That date is mentioned here. Participation end date. Let's say the study, one of the subject has completed the entire set of a follow-up. First of all, they went for a screening. Then they went for the entire treatment. Then they went for a follow-up. Let's say they completed the follow-up. So that when they have completed the follow-up for the last time, or whenever the subject was approached for the last time in a trial, that is your participation end date. Let's say one of the study in one of the let's say one of the subject, they discontinued in between the treatment. That date, whenever they were contacted for the last time, whenever they were contacted for the last time, that is your RF participation end date. It's not only that, only if the subject is completing the follow-up, that date is only the participation end date. Whenever they end their participation, it can be in either of the phases, in a screening phase, in a treatment phase, it can be in a follow-up. Whenever they end their participation due to whatsoever reason, that is your participation end date. Or let's say they have completed everything, then in that case, your follow-up date is the participation end date. Site ID is where a trial is happening. So for each site, you have the unique number, site identifier. Investigator name, INV for investigator, NAM for name. Birth date, since again this is a date and you have a character variable. All one thing to notice, if you notice here in SDTM, all the date variable is in a character type. And what is this format?
Yes, 8601.
Yeah, ISO format. So as per the STTM, your date has to be character and it has to be in a ISO format as per the STTM implementation guide rules in all the study. You have an age of a subject, you have an age unit, you have a sex, you have a race, you have ethnic. These are the different set of information of a subject. ARM CD we know already, and ARM. So ARM is basically a group of a subject who are supposed to receive a same kind of a treatment. So this subject 001 is randomized to drug A treatment arm. That means they will only take drug A. This is an example of a parallel study. This 001 only will take drug A. 002 subject will take placebo. One of the subject number 4, if you see here, treatment start date, everything is missing. The reason is they failed the screening test. That's why the arm is screen failure here. ARM code, this is CD for coded term. ARM code this is. So for drug A, the coded term is A. For placebo, coded term is P here. So one-to-one mapping is there in between these two variables. The coded term, a short value for the ARM variable. If you see, whenever you see placebo, it would be P everywhere. If it's drug A, then A. So one-to-one mapping is there. It's not like somewhere A, somewhere something else. It should be having a same kind of a name. Talk about this, and you have a country. Country is basically where a trial is happening. In which country? It's happening in the US. And you have two different sites selected for it. I can see 001 and 2. It's happening in the USA. And you have an actual arm. So what is the difference between this arm and this arm? We have an arm we know already, but we also have ACT. ACT stands for actual arm. That means when I was discussing about arm, the definition was who are supposed to receive a certain drug, right? A group of a subject who is supposed to receive a drug A. But whether they have taken drug A or not, we can get to know from the act arm variable. So this is the planned arm we have. This is the actual arm we have here. After the randomization, this subject was planned that they will take drug A. But whether they have taken drug A or not, you have in an actual arm here. Placebo was planned after randomization and they actually took the placebo. If let's say plan one is drug A and due to some mistake they took, let's say, placebo, then the value would be placebo here in actual arm. And you have actual arm code. Same thing. You have a coded term for the act arm. Understood all this example? Any question in this? How to create this variable? We'll see this tomorrow when we write a code for this.
Sir, are there any like information about the full forms of these variables in this PDF?
Full form in the
In this PDF you're looking.
yeah. You can see the these are all the full form. So whatever I said you study ID, study identify, it's mentioned here. It's a label. And
Okay.
if you again want to read about this unique identifier for a study, same thing I've explained you at the down. When I talk about use subs ID, you can see here concatenation of a study ID, site ID, use subs ID. It's a unique subject identifier. You can see what is the type of the variable here. Type is these all variables are character. We'll see all this thing. See, these are the date variables. Format is mentioned in ISO format. Okay, so everything is mentioned in the IG.
And sir, so in this demographics domain model, are these are only the variables present, or are there any other variables too in this domain?
No, everything has to be come up from this list. Nothing we can add extra as SDTM is all about making a data set a standard as per this guidelines. So nothing else or extra we will add. If I'm working on DM, all the variables should be from this only. And it's not like all the variable is required. I will talk about how to select a variable. So you are seeing a list of a variable, but not all the variables are required. Let's say in your trial, as I told you, a CRF is there, right? So let's say they are not collecting the information about the investigator ID or let's say investigator name. That means that these two variables are not required. We'll not keep these two variables.
Okay,
But
got it.
all the variables listed in the STTM specifications should have the name here. It should be listed here. Nothing extra we can add. If we have to add something, let's say some information is there which is extra in the CRF and we don't have a suitable variable here, then there is something, some other process what we have to follow. But when I open a data set finally, I should have only these variables, nothing extra. If I have extra variable, then P21 will throw error. Any other question? I know the sessions is little lengthier today because this is the first session, so it takes some time. From tomorrow we'll try to keep it. I'm not giving any assignment for today class. I have a plan. I mean, how we work on this assignment is I have a list of for SAS. I can see these are the names we have. So once you work on the DM and sub DM domain, then you can send me the assignment. I will check your program. I'll check your data set and then I'll keep you accountable through this tracker. So from today's class, you don't have any assignment, but the thing is you have to make a note. A lot of information I talk about, a lot of things I talk about, right? So if you don't make a notes, I'm telling you, you'll easily forget all those things. All these PPT, which I am talking about, these all things, you have to make a note of everything. How I define a variable, you can make a note of it. Otherwise, you'll forget about it. There's no chance that you will remember because you are hearing all these things for the first time. So you may have to go through these sessions again. Go through a recorded sessions once again after, I mean, it will take half an hour for this sessions to be again available for a recording. So you have the recorded sessions entirely and you have a lifetime access for all these recorded sessions of all these live classes. So that time you can just pause it and you make a note. Don't make any note during the classes. Make a note, work on the assignment. That's the only two mantra I have for you guys. All good? Anything? Any other concern?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's meet again tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.